Westward expansion. I believe that the westward expansion has had an overall positive impact on our world today. My family tree. Once my great-great-great-great-grandmother, Florella Waller, was born in New York. She, her mother, also my grandmother, Catherine Hobble, and her son, my grandfather, Robert Waller, all moved to Buchanan County, St. Joseph, Missouri, which is where I live now. The Midwest was the #1 wheat-growing region in the world, which is the reason why that my ancestors wanted to move there, because Robert Waller was a farmer, and he farmed grain. His mother, Florella, was a housekeeper, and her mother, Catherine, didn't have a job, so it was up to Robert to help out and farm the grains. The Homestead Act is also another big reason my ancestors moved west. The Homestead Act was an agreement that the government would give you 160 acres of land for you for free, but you had to own it for 5 years and you promised to take care of it. My ancestors were firm believers of John L. Sullivan. They believed in the manifest destiny, the obvious fate in which America was meant to be great. They supported this by moving west, which had to have been a success because we still live here to this very day. My ancestors were definitely not the only people willing to move west. There were Chinese who came by boat across the Pacific Ocean for the gold rush, railroad jobs, laborers, and a better life. Due to the Mining Act of 1872, the Chinese expanded but preserved their culture, but they were discriminated against and could not own land or mines. The Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882 kept the Chinese out. The ones that were already here could stay, but no more could get in. They also had to pay a monthly fee for licensing them to mine. There were also the miners. They came here by wagons, horses, and boats to have wealth and a better life as well. The miners came here for gold and coal for the Industrial Revolution, but especially for the gold rush. Some towns were started around mines, but mining became harder for foreigners when there was started a fee in 1852. Another negative later on is that the landscape started to change and the towns were becoming ghost towns. There were the European Americans and the African Americans. They came for farming and railroad working to increase transportation in the West. They worked hard for low wages. African Americans started their own towns and lived side by side with whites. They were treated better in the West. Then there were the Native Americans. Some already lived in the West, but others were forced by their government. They lost some culture and relied on the government for food because the Americans killed all the buffalo. They were forced to live on reservations. They were not allowed to be U.S. citizens until 1924, and the Dawes General Allotment Act in 1887 gave Indians land on reservations and centralized them so government could open Indian land. Mexicans also moved west. They walked, rode horses, or wagons to get there. They were discriminated against and worked hard for low wages. The missionaries, Mormons, and women pioneers also walked, rode horses, or wagons to get there. The missionaries treated Indians very badly. They spread Christianity in the West. The natives died of diseases spread by the missionaries. The Mormons invented the Western farming technique, which helped settlers survive. My ancestors probably used this technique. They became the worldwide religion. The Western states became the first places women could vote in the U.S., and they increased the education for women in the West. The ranchers moved to the West by wagons, horses, and boats as well. They came for open, free land for the cattle drive. Towns began to form by the cattle drives. They also worked hard for living. The railroaders moved west by boats, wagons, trains, and horses. They moved for jobs and expansion of the railroads. They transported livestock, coal, people, and goods. It was a quicker mail delivery, and towns developed around them. There were also a telegraph built along tracks to increase communication. The Pacific Railroad Act stated that the Transcontinental Railroad was built and the railroad got land free. I believe that the westward expansion did have an overall positive impact on our world today. I'm glad that my ancestors moved west because they were successful, and it's possible that if they hadn't, their lives may have been different, and I may not even be here today. I do believe that America was meant to be great and has succeeded and is still improving every day.